Hi, welcome to the Boca Voice and Fact or Fiction Friday. Today I'm here with Jeremy Rodgers, the Deputy Mayor of Boca Raton. Thank you so much for joining us, and we always love having you on the show.
Oh, thank you, Peter. It's great to be here again.
So tell us about last week's debate and what you thought about being the debate and the crowd, because it was a great crowd.
Yeah, it was interesting. So there was good turnout, but actually I wish turnout would have been a little more, and it worries me for what turnout's going to be for the elections. I would say for the listeners at home, for whether you're a business who has business here in the city or a resident, make sure to come out and vote. There weren't a lot of new faces at the debate. There was a lot of people
I
who
did notice that.
So, which isn't great. You want people to come out and hear the ideas, really say, okay, I like this candidate because of this idea, or don't like what that candidate's saying. So it was good. I think the questions were, went from schools to Midtown to future use of tax dollars. So good event put on by the Federation, fair event, good moderation. But I wish turnout was actually a little higher, to be honest, because I like to see people involved.
Let's talk about that a little bit. Midterm elections are always tough, especially in this town. You typically wind up with super voters that are only the ones that honestly are really engaged, and ultimately very few people will dictate what happens in this next election.
Yeah.
If we don't get the voters out on March 13th.
No, that's true. That's true. Yeah. So March 13th, please come out and vote. And if you look at voter turnout, everyone comes out and votes for the president every 4 years.
Sure.
And then the next big election would be like the governor. And in 2018, we'll have our governor, a new governor, up one way or the other, right. And that'll come out. And then behind that, you have the primaries, and then you're getting into the political nerds, we'll say, that start turning out to this. And then for us, municipal elections, we have our own election, and it's good in a way. Now, people have said you could throw that and put it on the November date, and you would have many more people turning out. But the problem is 90% of those people wouldn't even know. They're just saying, okay, I like this person's name, or that guy sounds this, or that guy sounds that, or this gal sounds that. So it's great that we have our own separate elections, but we really need our residents to come out and vote and voice their opinion. Otherwise, you have a small, very small percentage of the city, probably less than 10% for this March 13th of qualified voters who got to turn out and vote. And that means each vote counts that much more. So please come out and vote.
That's very good. So you brought up a lot of things. You brought up the fact that we have the school issues that are out and about, which are good, valid points. You brought up Midtown, which is on a lot of people's minds. And you also brought out the fact that, when people talk about traffic, we're always talking about traffic. So let's talk about a few of those things. First off, I know I had Frank Barbieri on last week, and schools are on everybody's mind.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about that. Tell me your thoughts on school and how we're going to impact the school district and the new schools that are coming into Boca Raton.
Yeah, absolutely. So some very exciting news. We'll start with the solution, then talk about the problem a little bit more. We've basically leapfrogged ahead of a lot of other cities and counties, and we're getting the first new school in about a decade. If you count non-choice schools, we got Don Estridge fairly recently, but that's a choice school. It doesn't just serve the immediate area. You have to apply to it. So we have the first full school that's got to just serve the area, approved. It's got to be right next to Don Estridge. We've set it's approved at the city level. We've set the city land aside. The school board's behind it. Frank Barbieri's behind it. And it's got to be great, a new school to help the solution. We have expansion coming at Spanish River, which is going to help on the high school level. And we still know we have two school rebuilds down the line, Villa Verde and Meisner Elementary. We're still working out the details on where that's going to be and the order that those are going to happen, but it's going to happen after we get the new school. And there's some contention because the Villa Verde neighborhood, it's already crowded with people picking up their students. And the original plan was to move Meisner Elementary there temporarily, put them in the new building, and then you have double the traffic in there. So we've avoided that, absolutely. There's a possibility to take a small part of an unused park piece of sugar sand and put a school there, but then all the residents there didn't like it. So this option of having the new school out by another school on Don Estridge, basically Spanish River and Military, and have that be the holding spot while we redo these other schools is really a great win-win solution.
How do you think, or will it impact at all with the new superintendent? Obviously, the superintendent resigning.
Right, that was huge news, a big surprise to me, and I thought he was doing a good job.
Yeah, he was. So do you think that's going to have any impact on any of this going forward, or any impact on any of these schools or anything in Boca Raton?
Yeah, I think it's something that the residents should really keep an eye on. And they have to understand that Palm Beach County School Board is Palm Beach County wide. So we have our local representative, Frank Barbieri, but there's others on the board, and their job isn't to look at Boca, and even Frank's job isn't to look just at Boca. They look at the county as a whole. So it's really up to us, the local officials, to lobby and push and say, all of those dollars that we're spending, whether if you look at your tax bill, you send more to the school board than you do to the city. And then there's impact fees for new developments. You have this new penny tax, and half of that goes up. And now they're proposing additional impact fees for new developments on top of that. So my goal is just make sure all that money being sent up from our very prosperous and city that's doing very well, send most of it back here so our students get the benefit of it.
Right. Frank Barbieri is always such a great steward and is such a great advocate on our behalf for the school.
Yeah, he's doing a great job, and and all of us. There's 5 of us on council. Right. I talked to him twice this week already. We're going to visit a school probably next week and just get the lay of the land a little bit more, check out some of these crowding news and see what's being done. But yeah, he's been awesome in working with me, and I know other council members as well.
Great. So let's go on. Let's talk about Midtown. So as this project keeps on kind of going back and forth, and you guys pushed it out a little bit to have more town hall meetings about it and have a special set. Talk a little bit about that and what was the decision to be able to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I live pretty close to this area of town. So I'm over off St. Andrews, and Midtown, for those who don't know, is basically looking at from the mall all the way over to like the Marriott Plaza, Boca Center, and Rocco's Tacos, and Tap 42, all that, and everything in between, the bowling alley, former Bally's, if you've been around a while, it's empty now. And then also the plaza where Abe and Louie's is, and all those kind of commercial in there. So there's already been a planned mobility development that's been applied to this back, I want to say 2011, but the increased land use rights have never got decided on what they want to do there. So it's time. We got to make sure it's done right. And I've heard from a lot of people in the community, a lot who live right there and some who live in other parts of the city. And they weren't saying no, no, no. They were saying let's do this right. Primarily asked for 2 things. The citywide impact study saying, okay, is the demand there? Is what they are proposing appropriate for that? And we got that. The city staff says we got that box checked. And the other thing was some more planning. And there's been, if you watch the meeting that went 5.5 hours last time, there was some different opinions of what exactly should be in that plan, but I think we're all agreed on, a circulation method between the different sites because it's a pretty big site, ways to cross military, what's the allocation of the units, are they all going to go here? What we don't want is to have, okay, you have this number of units and first one to the trough gets to drink, because then you have bad projects sped through and people are just, scrambling for units. So we want to see a real plan, a visual, a map, and I think we're pretty close to getting there. Still some more work done. And one of the landowners made an interesting point. The more that they're able to do, the more goodies they could do. And there was a resident who actually wrote up a blog on it. He said, that really resounded with him. He's like, tell me more about these goodies, because that, if you are going to have more investment in your area, that affects the nearby residents, and that's what they like. If you look at the Golden Triangle or some of the neighborhoods around there, around downtown, their property values have shot up because of what's gone on around there. Now we don't want to overflow the roads with traffic. We got to make sure all that's handled and handled smartly with cross circulation, that we actually are capturing trips. But I think there's a lot of potential there, and a lot of people want to see good development, and controlled growth happen in that area.
Agreed. But talk about controlled growth, even if nothing happened there. Look at what's happening in Deerfield and the growth are happening in Deerfield, and look at what's happening in Delray. If nothing happened, if the group of people that would like everything to stop in Boca Raton, and there are a group of people in Boca Raton that would like everything to stop and come to a complete halt. If that happened, right, with what's happening in Deerfield and what's happening in Delray and even West Boca, because the city doesn't control what's happening in West Boca and all of the families that are coming into West Boca, if that happened, would that really fix the problem?
Yeah, so it's interesting. You take what's going on in Delray, Deerfield, West Boca, and I'll bring up one other. The city recently voted to sell their municipal golf course. I personally voted against it, but it's one of the biggest conversions of green space to what's going to be residential. So that's another 600 plus single family homes. It's going to put a lot of pressure on it. You take that, you take Delray, you take Deerfield, all that cross traffic, and that's one of the landowner's main points is, first of all, what we're talking about with the overlay in Midtown, it's an up to amount. Every project that would come forward still has to meet traffic concurrency. It's not giving them traffic concurrency like you have in downtown. So if we wait 10 years, 20 years for this, the projections are that traffic concurrency is going to be used up by the surrounding areas. Now, that's bad because we still get more traffic, but we don't get any of the new investment, the new restaurants, the new goodies, the new fun stuff. stuff where I want to take my family to in there. So we don't have to rush this through, but we got to make sure we get this thing done, or else other cities are going to be eating our lunch, and we're still going to be paying the bill for it.
Yeah, we get all the bad stuff, and they get all the good stuff.
Right.
That's great. So let's talk a little bit about your vision. You're running for re-election.
I am.
And as you're running for re-election, you have to have a plan, then the issues you're running on, your vision for the next 3 years. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely, Peter. So I'm running for re-election for many of the same reasons I ran the first time. I know a little bit more. I didn't realize how many aspects of each issue there are until you sit up there and you really hear from all of the different sides of something. You don't realize how much, everyone has a good point. If the questions are coming to us, it's usually because there's not an easy answer. I ran when I said I work for, in the software industry, I work for a technology company, and at any time I could leave that company could leave me, and there's a lot of other young professionals in that same area in here, a lot of young families, and I don't want just 2 or 3 or 4 places in Boca for people to be able to send their resumes. We need 10, 20, 50, 100, and I think we've made very good progress there. If you look at what's going on at the Research Park, at Tech Runway, the Modernizing Medicine, the biggest job signing that we've had in the city in recent times, that's just firing on all cylinders. But you got to make sure you get, you succeed while the economy's good, because the economy could suddenly turn the other way. And if you don't set the right framework, then things turn around fast. So for me, I want to see that continue. The innovation in our town, as an innovator myself, I think that's a big win. I'm a veteran, you're a veteran. I think we could do a little bit more for veterans in our town. We've had some great startups inside of the city, but I would like to see Boca Raton be the -- 1 city in the nation for veterans to find a job or start a business. And I think we're on our way, but we could do a little bit more to help that, to incentivize that, and see those succeed. And third, we have tremendous opportunity with our recreation space. If you look at Lake Wyman, Lake Rutherford, Wildflower, a lot of these parks along the water, or also not along the water, El Rio, some of these parks, and I'm so proud of our city, but probably if you had to say, what's one thing we could do a little bit better? That Lake Rutherford area, we used to have some beautiful canoe trails there, boardwalks. Those are closed down. You have some of the prime real estate in our city, and it's inhabited by sometimes vagrants, people who are just passing by. We need to get that opened up for our residents, all of the people of Boca to be able to take their canoes, I want to bring my kids on a kayak trip. Sure. And that's been shut down for a couple, more than a couple of years now. So I think the reinvestment we do there, activating our water space and making it a place where people are hanging out, just being, enjoying being. And we're also talking about a water taxi, just something that's going to hit all of these different waterfront areas and get people on the water. I wish I could afford to live on the water, but I'd like to be able to enjoy it once in a while, and I think a lot of other people in the city would like to also.
That's great. Again, Jeremy, thank you so much for joining us on Fact or Fiction Friday. We look forward to seeing this. Anything last you'd like to say to our viewers?
Yeah, absolutely. So be sure to vote. Again, every vote matters, and in a small municipal election, every vote matters that much more. So please come out and vote Tuesday, March 13th. Research the issues, research the candidates, but be sure to get your voice heard.
As Jeremy said, March 13th matters in the city. We want to make sure we get your vote. Again, thank you for watching us on Boca Voice and Fact or Fiction Friday. Don't forget to follow us online and on Fact or Fiction Friday on Facebook. Thank you for watching.